36 of his murders were confirmed, but he confessed to 43. According to estimates, it is claimed that he committed more than 55 murders. This person was Gennady Mikhasevich, a Soviet serial killer. He was born on April 7, 1947, in the city of Vitebsk, Belarus, which was then part of the Soviet Union. Upon reaching adulthood, he served in the army and graduated from university. He was a machine repairman and a father of two. According to accounts, despite all the atrocities he committed, he was conscientious in his work, a compassionate father, and did not drink. He was a member of the Communist Party and also a member of the Soviet voluntary Druzhina, which could be described as a neighborhood watch. In other words, according to the Soviet rules of the time, he appeared to be an almost exemplary citizen. Everything began in 1971. Gennady had completed his military service and was preparing to return home. However, during this time, he learned that the girlfriend he was in a relationship with had left him and married someone else. On the night of May 14, 1971, after receiving this news, Gennady felt very lonely and fell into despair. He wanted to go from Vitebsk to Polotsk to be with his family, but since it was late, he couldn't find a bus. In the midst of the pain he was experiencing, he decided to hang himself. But just then, a coincidence occurred. Gennady encountered a strange woman on the road. The moment he saw the woman, he gave up on killing himself and decided to take out all his anger on her. He dragged the woman into the forest and strangled her. Thus, he committed his first murder. He must have liked the situation, because he committed another murder that same year. The following year, he committed 2 more. In his first murders, he would wait in a desolate place, hoping a woman would pass by chance. Later, he bought a car. With his red Zaporozhets brand vehicle, he no longer waited for victims. He roamed the roads looking for them. Gennady, who chose women hitchhiking as victims, was generally not refused because the place where he lived was quite stagnant, and traveling in a motorized vehicle provided a great deal of convenience for people. He got married in 1976, but the murders continued to increase. Gennady would take the victim to a desolate place and attack her. He would then strangle the victim until she lost consciousness. His primary goal in committing the murders was to rape the women. Therefore, after the victims lost consciousness, he would rape them and then kill them with a rope or other exotic methods. However, he did not use a special weapon or different tools for the murders he committed. He carried out his murders in a completely improvised manner. After killing his victims, he would steal their money and all their valuables and throw the bodies by the roadside before driving away. Like many serial killers, he collected souvenirs from his victims. However, while stripping his victims, he did not overlook even very ordinary things like scissors, alongside many valuable items. Gennady, who sometimes gave the stolen items to his wife as gifts, continued the murders in this way until 1980. In outward appearance, Gennady Mikhasevich was a good family man. He had 2 children and was a conscientious worker. Furthermore, he was a member of the Communist Party and the voluntary folk Druzhina. Therefore, it was never thought that he was a killer. Because of this, the people caught for the murders were actually individuals who had nothing to do with the crimes. Gennady, being a voluntary watchman, was able to slip away from these incidents easily and continued his murders in the meantime. However, everything began when a young investigator noticed the truth. In 1980, the young investigator Nikolai Ignatovich began to resolutely defend the idea that the murders of women committed near the highways in the region were committed by one person, not several. However, since there were people already caught for these crimes, other investigators did not look very warmly upon this idea. Yet, the young investigator was quite determined. In February 1984, a female student was killed. This incident caused Nikolai Ignatovich to pay even more attention. The similarity to other murders committed in that region greatly affected the investigator. He decided to research the incident even more deeply. Witnesses said they frequently saw a red Russian brand Zaporozhets vehicle around the crime scene. Ignatovich followed this clue and launched an intensive investigation. Gennady, with the comfort of being aware of the investigations, committed 14 murders that year. However, even being aware of the investigations could not prevent him from being caught. Although he continued to commit murders, he was becoming increasingly nervous. To derail the investigation, he sent a letter to a local newspaper supposedly written by members of an organization called the Vitebsk Patriots. In reality, there was no such organization, but Gennady had prepared what he thought was a very clever plan to divert the source of the murders. The letter stated that the murders were committed by the Vitebsk Patriots and that they were trying to rid the region of immoral women. The police saw the letter as a sick joke and did not take it very seriously. Nevertheless, for Gennadovich, whether the letter was real or not did not matter. What mattered was the fact that he held the killer's handwriting in his hands. Gennady had devised a plan of his own, and, in the murders he committed in 1985, he began to leave notes next to his victims. On the notes was written Vitebsk Patriots. Thus, with the letter he sent to the investigators, he was trying to make them think the incidents were carried out by many people, not just one. However, there was something he overlooked. The letter and the notes he left were written in his own handwriting, and despite being aware of the entire investigation, he was actually slowly giving himself away. The police officers assisting the investigation decided to check the handwriting of all the men living in the region. After sorting through 556,000 samples, graphologists found a match. Gennady Mikhasevich was continuing his work. Finally, the massive list of potential suspects consisting of owners of a red car had also dwindled. Gennadovich realized there was a man who could help while answering many questions. By going to a firm where motor vehicles were repaired and checking the handwriting of the letter's author with the employees, he took an important step in the investigation. He found the exact same handwriting on a receipt for delivered goods. The signature belonged to Gennady Mikhasevich, who was responsible at the company. In 1985 alone, he had committed 12 murders, and he had reached the end of the road. 14 years after his first murder, he was arrested on December 9, 1985. As the police were taking him away in handcuffs, he told his wife, "This is a mistake. I'll be right back." He was taken to the prosecutor's office. The question asked was clear: "Are you the Vitebsk Patriot?" Although he tried to resist during the interrogation, he eventually broke down and confessed to all his crimes. He took the investigators to the place where he hid some of his victims' belongings, but there were also different items he had given to his wife as gifts. In fact, in one case, he confessed that he had melted down 2 wedding rings belonging to the women he killed and used them to make dental fillings and crowns for his wife. Gennady stated that although he raped his victims, he enjoyed killing them the most. After being caught, he was executed between 1985 and 1988. Although the exact date of death is unknown, we can say that his execution took place within these 3 years. The case was widely remembered in the region not only for the horrific crimes Gennady committed, but also for the individuals wrongfully convicted and the incompetence of the police. Several officials were dismissed, and one prosecutor was tried for abuse of power. Gennady was not caught for a very long time, 14 years, after he started committing murders. However, during this time, there were 43 murders he confessed to, and more than 55 are estimated. Because the police could not catch the actual killer of these murders, they caught and punished some suspects. The first of the wrongful arrests took place in 1974. The person in this first arrest was sentenced to 10 years in prison. In 1980, another person tried for these murders was executed. Another of those arrested went blind while serving his sentence. Another prisoner was sentenced to 15 years in prison. In other words, Gennady caused dozens of lives to be ruined, not only by killing people, but also as a result of his failure to be caught.